Matt, there's thoughtful.
Oh. Well, trick or treating or something?
No.
It's my fault.
Yeah, but it's true. We've all been knowing that they're really. Very covered.
Both of side. No, it's your week. Oh, really?
Enjoyed that.
I dated one for years.
I'm thinking that 5 gallon drum. Half fills water in the back.
No problem.
Yeah, well, not bill chocolate or dark chocolate. Or one of each. Give about 3-4 feet off the ground. You got a 3-point hitch on the back too? You're a fan for it though. Yeah. I looked the person was asking, like, so you think first I bought the thing for it. Really got it, yeah. Right?
Oh, it's four-wheel drive.
Let's start out just like so I got to work with it small, so I can get a full start.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a trick to this madness. Some of your time ain't less if you walk around. One of each. Over there.
Water tank.
Yes, there was. There was. There was a method to her madness.
Oh, they're pretty busy with Fairbanks, I'd have been gone. Hey, thanks, Robert.
Wow. This was reverted.
All right, like, pull it out,
Yes.
campus, then before we went.
I thought you set yourself up for it.
I'm glad he found it.
I do, this is the back.
Like voting.
That's
Big dogs.
That's nice. Nice little plan. Not everyone wondered what are you gonna.
I've been telling them down a couple of 3 times this summer.
They cut nice too or not?
No, I guess he must be on the road.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like anything, you use money to justify decision making, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It'll be the easiest thing to do.
Thanks.
And it's still going to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, quite the.
Points that.
Yes, all the neighborhood ladies.
Easiest in the house.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like a present.
Did I still want in the box? I do have.
You present yourself kind of nicely, that's what you would say. Remove? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they were.
I'm sure that's what.
I don't know.
all right, we're 7 minutes late. That's terrible. First meeting of the year, it was 7 minutes. What happened? God. What's the first meeting of the year? It's the first minute of the session of the fall of 2025. How's that? So let's call this meeting of the Kachemak State Park. Parks. It's in the 53424. September 10th, 1925. So. We'll call a roll. He was, I think I'm here. Sue Christensen. Nancy Hillstein. Curtis Jackson.
I'm here.
Kurt Unverified.
You got me?
Lynn Steeman,
Here.
Justice
Here.
Sky, Lloyd Dupree. Here. Morgan,
Here.
Casey Adderall,
Present.
Oprah Green, thank you. Alan Parks, here. We have 1, 2. We have 10 board members present.
Wow. It's a record, isn't it?
That's good. All right, first thing on the agenda is to introduce new and returning board members. So we have Justice Sky. Hello. You want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm from Homer for my whole life and I run water taxis in that country.
You had quite an upbringing here.
Yeah,
Nina helped you along.
yeah,
Yes.
house.
Great.
Yeah.
She's been a mover and a shaker around there. Cool. And we also have reappointments of Mr. Parks.
You want to know anything about me?
Sure, tell us about, it. What have you learned in the last year? That's all right. Not necessary.
That much, huh?
Well, I was trying to think of something profound. I'm always. Thank you.
And there's one more. Who else got read? Who else got it? Kirsten Dixon. Kirsten, you're back with us again this year.
She honest, she.
This is long.
Well, we'll move on. Item 4 is to elect the chair, vice chair, administrative assistant.
Would you like to do?
Are you kidding me?
Here and we
Like to.
Who wants to be the chair?
if you really don't want to. I think everybody would like you to because of your experience, but I think Casey would be great. If you don't,
I talked to Casey. She said negative.
is that true, Casey?
I just can't be there in person this week or in December. Is there a possibility of taking some months and then learning from Robert and taking over mid period?
Sure, there's always possibilities.
Okay.
You know, it's pretty easy. I don't mind doing it. It's just, if I have some conflicts and I go on a vacation this fall, this winter. Anyway,
How about Robert could be chair and training you, Casey, for to be chair.
Casey,
Vice
okay.
chair.
Mr. Paul.
That would be great.
Richard Ball as chair of the, as chair.
Okay. Any objections? Okay. Let's make Casey vice chair.
I nominate Casey as vice chair.
A second, is
You willing to do that, Casey?
Yes, thank you.
Good, we have a vice chair then. Administrative assistant.
I will, and especially if Kirsten would help me. Or anybody else.
Okay. Yeah, the biggest thing is the minutes. And are we recording incidentally?
Correct.
Otherwise, we're recording. And we have that transcription too, so. So do we need a assistant to the,
You have that option, that'd be great. If one of us, maybe we could take turns doing minutes.
Yeah.
And the other one heads and.
That sounds great. Yeah, we can have something.
well, first thing we'll take and transcribe. And then if somebody takes that transcription and, okay,
And if you're someone to keep that role, then we step on to, I'm happy to.
we can talk.
We'll just do one session.
Okay, we got a team. Okay. Wonderful. Mr. Parks.
Can you tell us exactly, best as you can recall, is how much time do you takes to write letters on this board, on the board behalf, like letters to legislature, letters to support or different things?
It depends on how many things are going on.
Yeah, I mean, is it like last year, was it 4 or 5 letters?
Well, no, I don't think that was that many.
Okay,
No.
so
It's
that's,
usually 2 or 3.
I see.
Well,
Or
it
if there's
seems like
something else.
there was a lot more than that.
There might have been, that was kind of. But
To me, that seems like a real time suck. You know, I mean, outside of the board, I mean, it seems like the right, I mean, anyway, maybe AI helps you in that.
if it's resolutions, I just plug it into an old one,
I see.
use the same wording, address it different and everything, that's all.
Well, I think, if I may, I think it'd be great if you look at your, you know, when the letter comes out, it's easy for me to wait for someone else to, commit to writing a letter. If it was me, it would need to be rewritten, you know, because I'm such a poor speller and whatnot. But I just wanted to get a sense of that. That's the area that you take time outside of your job, normal, you know, agendas and whatever. So anyway, I'd like to see the board help you in those regards more.
Yeah, well, I like to make them sound intelligent, look intelligent, like we know what we're talking about. Hit the nail on the head, so if people want to do that, I can help them too, so,
Yeah.
no big deal. We don't want to make it look like we don't know what we're talking about. Ready to move on? Okay. We need to approve the minutes from May 14th. We did not get printed. There was a recording. I did listen to a little bit of it, but
I can get with Kristen, and we can make them the next meeting.
okay, next meeting, we can approve 2 sets of minutes. All right. Good. Moving on, next is public comments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make comment? No. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to bring up the topic of the bears at Monkey Creek. And, the fact that I think that we ought to, I'm Dave Lyon, in case anybody doesn't know. In the last 10 or 12 years, there's been 5 bear shootings over there. 2 of them were fatal. 3 of them were results unknown. There's at least 1 macing. And it's safe to assume that there's stuff that happened over there that we don't know about. This is all brown bears, and it's all around Monkey Creek when the fish are in. And it's a pretty discrete amount of time. And looking around the state, you know, that makes us a real hotspot for one small area. Eagle River Nature Center is the only other place I can think of that has similar amount of bear-human conflict in a popular, well-used area. And they just shut the trails down. And their state park, they shut it down. If you go to the website, they say that it's shut down by the park and Fish and Game in conjunction. And what I think is the best solution that I see is to close the entire Monkey Creek area from roughly the end of July through, say, Labor Day. The other options would be a whole lot of signage, you know, at the trailheads, 1 at the tram, 1 at Monkey Creek, 1 in every water taxi office. explaining to people that the threat of brown bears, the existence, not the threat, the existence of brown bears is real around Humpy Creek. And it's a real close area. You don't have a lot of room. You're gonna come around the corner or be going up the stream if you're fishing, and boom, there's a bear right in front of you. Even if you're making noise, over this film, maybe the bear doesn't hear you. But that's just a lot of conflict in a small area that it could be prevented. And, I'm pretty much thinking of the bears. It is, technically, it's a legal place to hunt. Nobody's ever hunted over there. And that would be a whole nother kettle of fish if people decide, oh, I'll go take care of the problem bears. That would be a bigger problem than the one we have now. So mostly I just want to bring this up so that it can be discussed, and hopefully we can do something by next year, because these bears come from a long ways. One of the ones that was killed there a few years ago had a tracker on it and was well known to our bear biologist up in Anchorage. And she wintered by Hill 26 and Ptarmigan Head, and then came all the way around the head of the bay and fished the Humpy Creek, and she'd been doing it for years. Yeah, and anyhow, that's my public comment, and I just want to bring that up as a topic of conversation, and I want to see it addressed.
Thank you.
Well, I'm figuring not now. I will do it later.
No,
I just,
I think if everybody wants to, we can have a little conversation.
I'm gonna have a conversation with about bears on the, further on the.
I asked Jason, yeah,
So that's partly what he's gonna talk about.
you want to stick around and we can have a little bit of. Okay. Good. Thanks. Anybody else from the public?
Marco Hager,
Marco.
public. I'd just like to talk to the powers that be here that, there's more people going to the park in here, and that, that we concentrated on fewer and fewer trails. And, there's a lot of volunteers around here that are doing their level best to, open up trails. But if you can take that message to the people with the money and say, we can alleviate some of this impact on some of these trails by opening up, say, the Wozniacki, from Haystack all the way up, would be a great addition to the park. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Marco. Anybody else from public? Okay, then, let's move on to our visitor, who I hoodwinked in his office the other day and said, Jason, would you mind coming and talking to the CAB at our first meeting this fall? And talk about a few things and the bears and the deer. He said, okay.
Sounds like we should maybe start with bears, since that's
It seems like that is a hot topic.
And so the statistics that Dave threw out there are pretty accurate as far as problems we've had over there. We've had brown bears basically activity has been increasing since about 2005. I mean,
Alan, that might over to your statement.
When I first arrived in Homer, I was told there were no brown bears on the other side of the bay by multiple people. Pretty much every water taxi I talked to, everybody in the state park. And across the bay, it took me all of one camping trip across the bay to go find signs of brown bears over there. Since that time, they've just been increasing. The major area that gets used, as Dave pointed out, is Humpy Creek. Last year, we actually had a brown bear harvested in Sadie Cove in the spring. So they do make it much further than people might realize. We get sightings of them over by the flats or by China. So we do have brown bears in the park. And I guess the number one thing I would like to see is management biologists down here to make sure that word is getting out from the water taxis to the general public that's being paid across. And we had a conversation about this, I wanted to say, is that 5 or 6 years ago, hopefully? We got together with all the water taxis and first time the topic came up, we tried to, try to get the word out a little more about what we have going on. We do have brown bears now starting to show up even in the spring. We've had a large boar the last couple of years who's been sighted out on Lake Spit there in the spring. So basically, brown bears are definitely increasing in presence in the park, given they're concentrated around Humphrey Creek. As far as the topic of closures, and that goes to the folks who manage the park. At Fishing Game, we try to stay out of that issue as far as whether something's going to be open or going to be closed, by advice on it. That being said, that area is pretty big as far as access to a lot of hunting opportunities. So I mean, black bear hunters use it, mountain goat hunters use it, waterfowl hunters use it. So there would be some pushback from the hunting public as far as quota goes. Obviously, when you're talking safety for tourists going over and using it, the biggest thing is to make sure they have the knowledge of what's going on up there. The outcomes of the incidences we've had over there, when people have used bear spray, it's been a lot better for both bears and the people. Unfortunately, most of them have involved firearms. At least three times, we've had to go over there and try to chase down a wounded bear open. Which is never fun for any of us. We've never successfully caught up to the bears. We've been close to them a couple times, but that's about it. Thankfully, we've never had one of those bears come back and injure a person. They've all maybe stayed in the area for a little bit or left the area after that. So as far as what actually wants to be done over there, this is a great place to discuss that. But number one would be education. Yeah. That's the one thing I would do. Happy to answer questions folks have. That's about as much as I have to give on the topic to start with.
I've been hiking over there since the 70s, and I've seen brown bear there, and whoever said they weren't there, weren't there either. And I agree with you with education. It's a preference. I'm writing it every day for your input too. I would just like to point out that like Chugach, they don't allow bear baiting in the state park because of tourists. And I know we've talked about bear baiting before, but bear baiting happens in Manor Bay. Maybe those bears are spreading word that donuts are down there. Come on. I would like to, yeah.
Can I address that one first? I don't believe we've had a registered bear bait site in Mallard Bay in the entire time I've been managing by our staff.
So where is it that they do it?
We've had two up off the flats, and up by the Waz, two up in that area. And the other one is actually been, it's not Mallard Bay. Can you correct?
Is it Aurora Lagoon or?
It's right down.
It's right up the river.
From Humpy Creek. I mean, there's the
What's the name of the Martin River? So those have been the bear bait sites have been registered. We've also had a couple registered on the outer coast inside the state park. But those are the three
ones that weren't registered. It seemed like I heard from folks that there were bear baiting sites over here.
I'm not aware of any. I'm looking at our enforcement guides to see if they've come across any.
Have not come across the name.
Glacier Spit bear box last summer, there was a full bag of popcorn grease all over it. And then this big, and I assume it must have come there.
I found dog food bags behind Mallard Bay.
So in that case, that's an unlawful site to start with, and so then we've got a bigger issue.
most bear baiting is for black bears. You know, and black bears, I don't think have ever been considered an issue in the park. Brown bears are the ones that I think need to be addressed. Jason mentioned, you know, a conflict with hunters. I know a lot of black bear hunters who hunt in the park. In the spring, they hunt on flats. In the fall, they tend to go high where the berries are. You know, that's where you hunt bears. I think that a closure of Hunter Creek, and from the beginning of July through August, as long as people were still able to access Fort Lock Trail and head up into goat country, waterfowl doesn't happen until September. So if it were close to the labor, then it wouldn't be affecting anybody really, except maybe some goat hunters. And if you said it's the flats that's closed, there's no goats down there anyway. That's just, you know, a pretty practical place for what we're going to talk about. The black bears and bear breeding is in the spring. The only issue I see is the brown bears around Humpy Creek and the folks that are hiking Humpy Creek, and bears that aren't used to people and people that aren't used to bears, a bad combination.
Thanks, Dave. No other questions?
Can I jump in,
I have
Robert?
a few comment for the board.
Sure, go ahead.
It'd be great if you guys deliberated on this, and, you know, gave your assessment towards state parks of, you know, what you thought might be reasonable. And to add on to what Dave's saying about user groups and what Jason's saying, there's also a private cabin up there. We've done closures in the past, and they've called us and said, how are we supposed to access our property if you're closing stuff? We also have commercial fishing operations that walk in on that river and take clients during that humpy time of the year. So,
Thanks, Jason. So it sounds kind of like the first step would to be educate the public, and that's gonna start with whoever is taking the public over there. And coming up with signage that would withstand the use. I don't know if Parks has got any kind of budget for coming up with some kind of signage that could go to water taxis and maybe even to some offices around the harbor. Because it's not only water taxis that take people over there, private boats too, so, but other thoughts? I don't know who was first, Marco.
Well, earlier this spring, Allison O'Hare gave me, when she was organizing the search and rescue unit, she also had some handouts on bear etiquette. And I took those around to the various water taxi offices. But it was just one sheet. It wasn't laminated. It had really great information on it. It would be great if the state parks would produce a poster and then some handouts that, and you know, because handouts are expensive, and the state's got tons and tons and billions of dollars that they could spend on this, and that they can bring us some you know, some bear etiquette and parts of their handout. I hope that'd be helpful.
So one thing that we,
Robert, Kurt had his hand up.
Who?
Kurt.
I'll get to him.
so one thing we've kicked around in the past, Robert, is to actually have a kiosk in the pavilion up there, where we'd have a video monitor that tourists could actually go in and watch some bear safety video information. The harbor master was fine with that being installed when I discussed it with him last year. Haven't gotten any further on it than just general discussion. But that might be something this board could help with. Yes, that's what's going on. One suggestion was the pavilion in the harbor. Yeah, a movie going where you could have information as far as bears in the park, as far as bear etiquette.
Is there any way to add something about guns at like, you know, 2-second response time? And there's people who work. more than ever in your way of. So that,
So that messaging could be put out there as well.
Curtis,
I can help you that.
you're up next.
Okay, I'm just curious what we got Jason there. This year on the water, I've seen fewer black bears in the 14 years I've been on the water doing water taxi stuff. And I'm just curious if that's being looked at all and if that has any effect of like as brown bears move in, do black bears move out, or if there's any relationship at all. But that's just, I mean, I saw one bear last month, and that's just really weird. As many berries as there are, as much time as we're on all the coastlines, to not see any bears on the beach was just a really strange deal.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. That's been a concern that we've been hearing from a number of folks in the public and seeing the same thing ourselves. Brown bears, as far as them pushing the black bears out, I don't think we've got an issue there. In this case, we definitely had some really high harvest the last couple of years. If you look at the harvest we've had this year, and we haven't gotten ages back because that takes a year, but the bears handled coming through the office in the spring and the fall. Body condition was all really good, really fat bears, which is kind of counterintuitive to the winter we had. If there would have been any die-off occurring in the winter, you'd expect all the bears coming through the office to be pretty thin, not a lot of fat on them. What we did notice is the age of bears coming through. A lot of old bears taken the last couple of years. And then that, of course, tends to lead into reproduction. So the way we've been managing bears, you want to call it managing, it's been interesting. We basically harvest the heck out of them for a couple of years. They get knocked down. They're at low numbers. Harvest goes down. They slowly come back up. We harvest the heck out of them. They go back down. We've been doing this for the past 15 to 20 years if you look at the data. As far as research, management, actions on it, there's one proposal within the board cycle this year from a gentleman out of Fort Graham to close out of state, so non-resident hunting. It'll be interesting to see what the board does with that. Hoping to make some suggestions to the board when that goes forward. We'll see what we actually put through on the state side to maybe modify that to address how we're harvesting them. We don't have any decisions from the state on how we're going to go forward with things. We had a research project started 10 years ago that kind of fell flat on its face, didn't go anywhere to try to start looking at how we manage black bears. I've put a proposal back in a couple times since then, try to get something going, and so far we haven't gotten anything started. So I'll continue to push on that, but at this point, we're status quo as far as research and management on black bears.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot by just what people are saying right now. Dave's input about shell closures and micro closures around critical times is kind of interesting, and bear information and bear videos and research and history and all of that. And that, I think it's a complex issue, and I think it's an issue that deserves a lot of attention. And when the board gets to the action item on this, on our agenda with the bear issue in the park, I'm thinking that I would suggest at that point that we form some sort of a task force or a committee to really look at the details of this bear issue and bring back recommendations to the full board. The other thing I didn't mention is the different stakeholders that want to access the area. The commercial guide fellow, there's only one that I know that goes up there and guides fishing trips. It would be good to bring him into the discussion. Anyway, so that's, I think it's all interesting stuff. It's really good input from everybody, but I'd like to make really good recommendations and take the time to find out what makes sense.
Maybe that's the habitat committee.
So what I think, if I may, is that the thing is that we're not gonna have an issue for a while now. So I would like to find some money to get some good signage. Not something that's laminated and is gonna blow away in the wind. Get something that's professional and gets the message across. And then come up with an idea with parks, if there is interaction that is not conducive to the two-legged creatures, to have a response and be ready to close that trail over there and have a mechanism to do it. But then also, we can invite people to come and talk to us about it too. Because there is unintended consequences to doing that. But it's not gonna help that two-legged person that goes over here and meets that bear and does the wrong thing. I gotta say, there's an awful lot of people getting on water taxis and going over there that haven't got a damn clue about bears. But I don't know if they're going to Humpy Creek that much. Not. But
One thing I like that idea, and I would like to have a better understanding of the nature of their problem. Is it a trail or the parts of the creek that are particularly hotspots or problems, but before I would engage in offer recommendations from one, but I like understanding problems. Like how many times a day people can, and where have they been? It'd be helpful to have that information. It's better understanding of this. And when you said something very simple, but also when it's the brown bear season open, it's not open year round, is it?
It's open right now. It is not open year round, correct? It closes, for a period over the summer, so. They extended it the last board cycle. It goes to, I think it. Can't quote me on these dates, because I don't have them in front of me, June 15th to, I think it's. September 1, it's closed, and it's open the rest of the year. Now, there's gonna be, we have a board meeting coming up this year, and so we'll see what ends up with our season dates after that. There's several proposals to adjust it back, because our season used to be much shorter. And we do have some concerns with the current season. So we'll see what happens there. And we're also looking at trying to change. Right now, they're managed on a calendar year. It's the only species we manage on a calendar year. Everything else is on a regulatory year. Regulatory year starts July 1 and actually fits, the life cycle of a species a little better. And so we're trying to get that adjusted as well. And that hopefully would leave the fall season open. Right now, the last few years, we've had to close brown bear season even after new season has opened, which is when a lot of our interaction occurs with bears. So we're trying to adjust that because most of our harvest actually occurs during the spring mating season. And so having the option for folks to hunt them in the fall during moose season when people are out on the land is a good as far as management goes. So that's why we're trying to make that adjustment this next year.
So there's a proposal to do that.
There's, yeah. And you asked where most of the interactions are occurring. Most of them, I don't know how well you know the Humpty Creek area. So you have the yurt kind of down at the bottom. You've got a bridge that crosses where the trail goes across the creek. And then you have basically everything upstream of that. Upstream of that, there's a cabin that Opie was referring to. It's on the, what fork would that be? I think of it as the left fork when you're walking upstream. It'd be the northeast fork. And then the south West Fork doesn't have anything on it, and that goes back towards the Druid Valley. Most of the interactions are occurring between the bridge and that private in-hole cabin. What's that?
On the creek?
On the creek itself. This last one occurred actually not that far from the train. And that's the first time we've had that occurrence.
How far from
The tram that goes across the river there. And then we've had occurrences down by the yurt. We've had interactions down there. Last year we had more of those, but the majority of them is on the creek itself.
Who was that campus out?
It was on this. So.
Nancy, you got something did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just, I just was, wanted to ask Jason if he is talking to like Kachemak Air, because I flew over there this last month, and he said, I've never seen so few bears. And you know, that's somebody, I don't know if you've talked to him or not, but so it's not just Kachemak Bay, it's also over there on the Gulf side too. And this is black bear. I was wondering how many brown bear do you think there are on this side? Of course, they're going to come over because they're on your side there on the north side. So of course they're going to come around. I would imagine. So, any ideas on what the population has grown to? Like 4 or 2 or what?
We have no population estimate, Nancy. I mean, I can say on a personal note, I've seen as many as 5 different brown bears in a weekend over there that I can identify as different bears. I would guess on any given weekend, you probably got, 20 brown bears between China Boot and the Fox River. We're wandering that country, but that's just me throwing a number out there.
And they've probably always been here, but yeah, I haven't seen any here in Sadie, though you said there was one harvested, but haven't seen any black bears either. So it's been really sparse, which is amazing, like because of all the berries. And anyway, maybe no salmon helps.
I know
Sue,
this has been mentioned before, but if any of you have been to Brooks Falls, they do such a great education for everybody that goes to, that comes into the park. And I would think that, that I would like all water taxis to kind of be required to do the education that, we come up with and the film in the pavilion. I mean, it's time to do that, in my opinion.
I just want to point out that the Brooks Fall bears are completely habituated to people.
I know they are.
And these bears don't know.
I'm talking about education, we
Yeah.
have great education over there. Everybody there knows what's to do with theirs.
Curtailment to our.
they also have deep pockets.
So to follow through with what Alan and you said, so what is the process to start a discussion with Kuna or Fishing Game and both to set it up so that if it becomes a problem, they could fix it? So what is that process? Is that a Kuna decision? Is that a Fishing Game decision? Or is it what?
Decision. We close the film now with problems that happens now. So that's what's going to happen. It's a problem that partly both for us and the period of time. So we've looked at it, should be communicated when we look at this.
So you have the authority to do that for the amount of money.
Yeah, I think really,
Well, I would like to see more discussion about that and see who we can, but maybe subcommittee or something to have that and then come back, discuss it at the board. What do you think, Gary?
It's always good to get the full picture, and we're not dealing with an immediate issue. So we have time to have this discussion. I'd like to know if there's a budget with parks that where we could come up with some signage.
Yeah, there's certainly, I mean, it's, well, within the realm of possibilities, Robert, to do that, no problem at all. It would be useful from our perspective, we have a plan now that we've been doing for quite some time, you know, one before I go here. Mine wasn't too bright, but, you know, as part of this effort, we can work with formalize that, and whatever the, you know, outcome of the discussion, that's right, and some succinct document that, you know, incorporates the factors we discussed each day. So,
Good, but we've kind of got off our visitors topic, but I think that's a good discussion. And the reason I asked for a budget is I know the difference between a laminated piece of paper and a metal sign that is gonna be there for a few years.
there's even on the paper, that's the difference.
And I know how much they cost, my friend. So,
Sure,
Exactly. You got one for both.
yeah. Well, let's hopefully they don't while you're in your office and you have that sign on the side of it.
Don't think you're behind from the part of the, you said, Mr. White, you see drive up and down the road and shoot signs.
Jason, did you want to say anything about the success of the deer or?
What, I'm happy to talk about it, Robert. At this point, we haven't released anything.
Okay.
The plan isn't to go into effect until the end of this month. So, and I'm happy to come back and give you guys an update after that occurs. But at this point, we have our plan together as far as capturing the animals. We have a location site. We're planning on putting them out. That'll be on the outer coast. We hope to get as many as 24 animals put out there this fall. And hopefully sometime between the end of September and the beginning of October. And everything's gonna have a collar on it. We're gonna track every animal. We're doing disease testing of the ones that we capture. And then we'll follow up with that accordingly. Yeah, and we'll look at what happens to the individuals that we put on the landscape.
Thanks. Carolyn?
So maybe if you guys are going to capture deer at some other place and introduce them into Kachemak Bay State Park or the outer coast or even you know, Durance National Park, and where are these deer gonna want to be go and how are you, I mean, what's the purpose? Why are we doing this?
Reasonable question. All very reasonable questions. So, I don't know if any of you read the press release we put out on it several months ago. But at the behest of the governor, we're introducing deer to, Kachemak Bay. As far as transplants go within the state, that is done at the behest of the governor. And, it's not a decision by Fish and Game. Our job is to make sure it's done in the best manner possible. We've been told that we're gonna make sure that we get deer out this year. So that means we're gonna get them out September, and October. We are, like I said, we're gonna collar every animal so that we can track what actually happens to them. The purpose of putting them out there, the governor is putting it forward as a food security issue. It's as much for, it's really for harvest, future harvest hours. If you look at past transplants, we've done them with deer going back to 1916 was the first one in the States. With the number of animals that we're looking at, it typically takes 20 years for a population to build to a huntable population. These deer, despite where folks want us to put them in the first place, like I said, we're putting them in the outer coast because that's the best habitat that we've identified for them. We've got a location that gives them a fairly decent chance at survival, depending on what the winter does, obviously. And we'll see how they go from there. We're gonna do a ratio of one buck to every 5 does is what we're shooting for. What's that?
Happy bucks.
Well, you look at what we want out in nature as far as breeding goes and fishing.
So just to follow up. So the governor made the decision to introduce
Correct.
this species. It didn't go through the board game.
It was brought up, it was actually introduced at the Board of Game, the last Board of Game cycle. It was discussed at the Board of Game.
What they said.
And it was discussed with the advisory committees. The Board of Game was in favor of it. The local advisory committee was split. Dave can probably talk to that as much as I can, if he's on the board there. The proposal was brought up by a member of the local advisory committee that was discussed at the board. It didn't have to go through that process, but it did, and that was done so that with the idea of the general public to have a chance to comment on it.
The state park part of that is part of the process.
I would have to defer that one to Hans. I know what the state park plan says because I helped write the language for it.
Yeah, we have been consulted, so to speak, regarding transplants. So transplants.
Can we change that? How do we do that? How do we start to be integrated into, the management plan? How do we make it happen?
I'm not quite sure I understand.
Because in the management plan, it says it's a joint decision making on how the land is used and that kind of thing, and it just never happened. It's just what we're told is gonna happen in our park.
So in this case, we aren't putting deer in the park. Obviously, that doesn't mean they're not going to end up. They're not being put on the wilderness park.
Alan,
They come from Sitkanack, an island just south of Kodiak.
okay.
And that has to do with logistics because catching deer at this time of year, untreed location, net gunning is a lot easier on Sitkanack than it's gonna be on Kodiak.
Well, I think if I'm hearing you right, if I'm hearing you right, it's, the suit was asked for input or whatever input he was asked, but to Sue's point is that this major decision was, we never got a chance to talk about it, but that's one thing. But the other thing is, if it's being promoted as a food security issue, that's a whole nother topic. And if you're going, what about rabbits? There's a whole bunch of other animals that produce at a much better thing, and it just, anyway, it's, I hope success in some regards for this project, but it's a little bit, not knowing everything about it, it's a little concerning.
My goal is to try to make sure we don't introduce any disease to any known populations that we have out there. That is my big concern for what we have.
How's that different from any other invasive species? Not natural. Is that the definition of invasive species?
I think we have to go back to the first thing Jason said, is that the governor told us to do that.
Yes.
The governor does not have a wildlife degree. The governor once consulted a de-extinction expert, talk about introducing mastodons and giant pleistocene animals to the tundra so they'd smash it down and keep it from releasing greenhouse gases. This is to do what he's doing. He's gonna do it the best way he can, but Dunleavy told him to do it, end of the story.
Point of order, let's move on.
That's,
Yeah,
yes,
there you go.
I was gonna say.
Y'all have fun.
We're an hour into this meeting, so.
You guys.
Jason, thank you. Dave, thanks. Nancy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nancy
Well, I
Hilton
guess
and
Yeah, I guess those guys just left, but I was just gonna ask them about the ecosystem effects. And with the park, we do have something, and that is that we're reserved from the public domains, because so maybe the way to go there would be an open season, full bag limit, 7 a day or something like that. Because the blueberries are gonna really suffer from deer because they love blueberry buds. And, but anyway, I just thought, that might be something that in the future, if they do grow or when they do grow into the park, is just up the bag limit within the park, boundaries. Get them out of there, just let them harvest them out. So anyway, that's just my thought. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. All right, we're gonna move on. Thanks, Jason. We'll be looking down the road to see how these guys, bears are always looking for a good meal.
And we follow up on the mastodons.
Do they have?
Yeah. We're moving on. Thanks. All right, gonna move on to item 8, which is state park reports and superintendent reports and bonds. You have them.
All right, thank you, Robert. Good evening, everybody. Good to be back for another advisory board season. Just a couple recent comments there. Appreciate the discussion about theirs and helping through we can work to certainly look at the advisory board here to organize our approach and to make sure everyone knows that approach is a part of next season. So sure challenge there, and also based on Blacktail here, Jason's opening remark was, aligned very well with Parks stance as well as a request from the governor's office. That's just what it is. Those happen when you're with the executive branch. So we forward to see how the as far as public goes. What dealer that. Also, just welcome to Justice. Welcome to the advisory board. Looking forward to working with you over your term here, and welcome back to Alan and Kristen. As kind of a start here, the function of the advisory boards to advise state parks for the side boards of our management plan. Just to make sure you're going to copy of that. I have a link to that, so you can work to digest that. It's we're fortunate here in Kachemak Bay, for a number of reasons. One of which is we have a fresh management plan for the park, which is very cool and makes things pretty relevant that we talked about. So. Just moving on from summer's a big time. We haven't seen each other for a while. We get field reports from both Jason and Eric, which I appreciate, which go into greater detail, but just a few significant accomplishments, which sure I'll gloss over a few things here, which we can pick up later. But we're fortunate in the spring to have Aaron Cooper here. Aaron Cooper joined State Parks. Aaron's been on the Kachemak Peninsula for close to 30 years. Various positions, fishing boat captain, fishing guide here most recently. So fortunate to have Aaron. Most in that place, and almost doing very well. Good to have here. So Aaron decided to see if they're Aaron here for the foreseeable future. Also, positive news and significant for state parks is the agreement we had with Friends of Kachemak there to do trail work this summer, which was great for state parks. Significant. We've got a few of those agreements within the region, but they're always, it's a big lift to get them off the ground. It's a big lift to maintain them. So thanks to the Friends, and it was a good outcome for state parks. We were able this summer to get some new outboards on landing craft here, which is a cool accomplishment. They were 20 years old, about 3,400 hours on them. So that's good replacement for us at State Parks here. And just speak to the collaboration we do at State Parks here, which that's what this group is all about here. We're really well-rounded corner on over 1,000 volunteer hours. We run various groups that we work with here in Bay, which is awesome. It's an accomplishment for all the volunteers and collaborate with the staff and collaborate with us. And a lot of that goes to Eric and an awesome job. The big lift, there's a lot of infrastructure out there that we should help. We'll round it out there, Robert, and then I can jump in on as reports by listing with more details.
Thanks, Alex. Any questions? Anybody online got any questions? Thanks for pointing all those things out, and yes, I think, you have something that points out the duties of CAB other than our bylaws?
Um. We got Robert.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get you a copy of all of that. All right. Eric, do you have anything you wanted to say?
Not assuming the next question, then with what I sent out,
Okay.
and with the ops report, I did send it to all the board members.
Yep. And I got.
I got some, yeah. But if anybody has any questions, I can answer them, and doesn't have to be right here now. You can feel free to email me too, if there's any questions that arise.
Okay.
There was quite a bit kind of been on, so.
Yep. And Jason sent out his report too, which he's got a lot of stuff. Law enforcement did this summer too, so
Good work, you guys.
It got-
So much.
got to me a little late, so. But if anybody has any questions, that, they're doing a lot of stuff out there, so it's gratifying to know that, they are doing things out there.
Working their tails off.
Any questions? Okay, let's move on to committee reports, Friends of Kachemak Bay State Park.
All right, Kathy Stein, here with the friends. I tried to get through this, there's a lot, we did a lot. And so if I forgot something, it's like, First, I want to say thanks to the TAB Trails Committee that really got us off on a good start this spring. It was a good, shot in the arm, we got helpers out of that, we got new interest out of that, and we want to do it again in a bigger facility next time. And because we actually had to turn people away, that was great, and that was Alan and Morgan and Casey, and you really just helped get that energy going, and getting people interested, so, anyway. I want to say thanks for that, and hopefully we continue. We had some big donations to Friends for Fields. Homer Saw pretty much cleaned out their closet. He gave us about $7,000 or $8,000 worth of equipment, tools, and we're all set. So we don't need anything right now. Also, my neighbor Joseph Talbot donated a weed whacker, a leaf blower, and a chainsaw. And they all work. So we don't use leaf blowers across the bay, but I want to throw that out in case somebody needs it. Use it on this side. And our trailer is full, and got a volunteer who stepped up. He's also on board, Caleb, and he has everything inventory now, and keeping things clean and working. We had a bunch of trees. The Friends volunteers, Sawyers removed this spring. The entire trail, Humpy Creek's flats up to Port Lockers, clear the Humpy Creek to the tram, the trails, the tram to Blue Ice. These are all logs and trees that were across the trail this spring. All of South Grace, Tutka Lake to the falls, and Alpine Ridge all the way up. So they just, as soon as you'd say there's a few trees, boom, I get a call and say, okay, there's the key to the trailer and it would be done. So we have some really enthusiastic sawyers, and they all took the 2-day safety course that we required. And then the Friends volunteers, cleared and brushed, using the gas brushers. We did about 8 miles of trail this year, which is phenomenal. And it takes about 12 to 16 hours to go a half a mile. So we got Humpy Creek Bridge towards the tram. That was a training we did, and it turned out it hadn't been brushed for 15 years. So it was really good for the new people. Hand sawing. We did the best we could but we did get it a little cleaner. Half a mile out from there, South Eldred, we worked 0.7 miles. Towards Sadie Knob, we did we started lower Alpine Ridge, about a half mile up, and then back roads. We've been getting more people calling us that want to collaborate. back roads company, but now this is the second year they've come and helped. I led them. We had 8 volunteers that day. And we were able to clear all the worst brush on the south side in one day. So we had 3 teams of 3, and it was just awesome work. They were all 25 years old and had a blast. Yeah, they were all workers. They all worked for back roads. Anyway, and they all camped in my yard. I had a blast, and we got all that done. And and then North Grace, we worked a couple days there with 4 or 5 volunteers and cleared the worst of the brush off of that, including the brush high up on the tundra that hadn't gotten faced in a long, long time. So Grace Ridge is in the best shape it's ever been. It's not perfect, never really perfect, but you can see your feet the whole way. And then also just recently we brushed from Humpy Flats all the way to Porlock Plateau. So that trail, Porlock Plateau is cleared. It's still steep, but it's cleared. And I want new and upgraded outhouses. There are four new outhouses out in the park. And Leisure Lake, or in South Eldred, Upper Tutka, and the West Cabin at Halibut Cove Lagoon. Thanks, special shout out to Dave Brand, our outhouse maker. And then Jim Herbert for his landing craft for helping make it happen, because he put a lot of people and stuff on his boat. And he's on board. He's awesome. Saddle Trail, and we're working on getting a Saddle Trail outhouse committee together. It's been so busy. I know I put an email out, but we want to get a think tank together to work on that. We had a few replies. I just haven't had a chance to chase them down. If anybody here is interested in working on getting some kind of composting outhouse at Saddle Trailhead, or 2, then I said 2 outhouses. Anyway, we'll talk more on that as we know more. In firewood, there's always firewood bundling parties all summer, usually organized by Bill Haig and Mako, and sometimes Robert. And it's always for sale, $7 a bundle, 3 for 20 at Mako's Water Taxi or True North Tax Ventures is where you pay for it, but it's out on Spit near Ramp 2. And you've probably heard about Trails Day, worst weather in the history of all Trails Day, but we still got people out. We managed to sneak out folks to Glacier Spit. They got out there just like in the weather, and then the weather calmed down. They were able to come home that night. And then that outhouse project got delayed till the next day. It came to the south Sadie, but there was one project or 2 that got canceled, but we still made it happen. I mean, stuff got done. One guy got into China food and helped out there. And and then we hired their friends, gave money to state parks to hire 2 ACC workers that are just about wrapping up. Because of them, Sadie now is now about in the best shape it's ever been. They worked on that. They also did work on North Grace, widening the trail and working on the trail and all that. So search and rescue, as you know, you probably heard, it's called K-Bay SAR, headed up by Allison. And they're under the Friends umbrella at this point. And she knows more than I do, but she's coordinating with Jason and all the right people so that, and they actually had one successful rescue this summer. Somebody broke their ankle on Grace Ridge. So if you want to get involved with that, contact Allison O'Hara. And then Casey Adderhold, which I don't know if she's here, but man, where has she been my whole life? Anyway, she stepped up and she's really been helping with the emails and stuff because it just got overwhelming. I was doing it, before. Now it's like, oh my God, there's so many emails and there's so much going on. She stepped in and she's streamlining things, helping with that. And then Dorothy's been helping because she has time. But mostly Casey, and Casey stepped in and took over the trail registry and kind of trail head housekeeping, checking on the bear boxes, making sure the registers are changed out, and just picking up garbage. And so on a consistent basis. So she's getting people over there every other week and coordinating with Eric and sending reports about the trail. So it's pretty darn exciting. We've never been able to do it consistently before. We didn't have a leader, and now we have. So that's the thing, we've been trying to find people who are enthusiastic and put them in charge of something. Suddenly, there's people want to help. And the Kachemak Day Mountain Classic race, which it went great. Silas was in charge of it. I handed it over. I tried not to micromanage too much, and he did a great job. And it was on August 2nd. We had 45 people. I had this, put me down. Anyway, I think 45 people signed up. We made about $3,000. And it went well. I mean, we had hikers and runners on that. It was a beautiful day, and it was the best shape ever for the trail. And the Eastland Trail, since Emil's not here, I just copied and pasted what she emailed, so I'll just, is that all right?
Yep.
What she has. Eastland Trails infrastructure, 15 space parking lot and rotund upgrades along with the staging maintenance area is completed. Good parking lot up there. Trail groundbreaking started on the 2nd of September. Cost of phase 1, including infrastructure, is $460,000, fully funded. The neighborhood, with the exception of one neighbor, are very excited and fully supportive, looking forward to the trails. And and I had Kachemak, I had the race ridge thing twice. We made $3,100, 37 people actually showed up out of 45. And we're pretty good. Okay, so also Casey had her whole simplify the waiver, so you can do it on your phone, the dot form. She's actually paying for it, it's only $100 a month. She said she'd donate the proceeds for a few months to see how it works. Even Mark will just do it on his phone. Anyway, and so because of that, we had a pool of we have about 150 volunteers when you email out now instead of 75 or 80. So we get answers, so when we put something out, people, with a bigger pool, you get more people that are available. So thanks to Casey for doing that. And so kids across the bay, or do you want to talk about that?
Well, I can just give a brief.
Yeah.
We had 6 trips this summer with kids across the bay. The Beowulf under Allen's operation, the Mighty Clan under Justice's operation. Justice, by the way, did not go into detail on his background, but he's got the Torrega and the Mighty Clan, and so that's what he's been operating this summer. So, and Coldwater made a couple of trips. So 2 trips on the Mighty Clan, 2 trips on the Beowulf, 2 trips on Coldwater. We got a whole bunch of kids and their parents across the bay. I don't have to tell anybody in this room that water taxis are expensive. And for a young family, they can be a little too expensive. And so this is just a way to get local kids across the bay, and it was very successful. Oh, I'd like to thank Heather Calavig, Taz Talley, White Eagle, if anybody knows her, and Mallory Prim, and fellow by the name of Frank, when Taz Talley, all volunteer their guidance services.
What's the app that you're talking about in the phone?
Oh, the waiver, for everybody sign, it's not an app, it's just a link to, and before the waiver was always PDF, they would print out and scan and.
Oh, for volunteering?
Even I couldn't, it took me half a day to do it, and so it was okay. Anyway, Casey just streamlined it, so it's, you get a link and you just look at your phone and you type in your name and then you put your signature and finger, and it goes to the state and it goes to friends, and you go, anyway. But we'd like to even, we're talking to Hans about waivers, hey Hans, or possible, we'll talk about waivers before next year, there's even a better.
Casey put the link in the chat there.
Yes.
Yes, and it takes so much time, so we're gonna talk about maybe if we need it, or anyway. But at least it's streamlined now if we do need it. And I think it'll be even more streamlined.
You can find that on the Friends website.
Yes. Yeah, or, yeah.
And it's a fillable form, so it's made things rather nice.
Yeah, you can fill it with one hand, like you just go like this and then to extend. Boom, we get an email and, as of today, the state continuing to,
Still has to be done annually though, right?
yeah. Yeah, so we still have to put a big push out for it and they gotta make a list. Everybody immediately goes into the friends folder because we don't go through the approval process. Now we have to wait for the state to approve before it goes to the state. But anyway. Casey took care of that this year. Oh my God. Anyways. So, and then another big thing, another cooperation or whatever, of the agencies, the Coast Guard contacted me and said, would you like help? And I said, yes. So, they have a group of the Coast Guard workers and their boss wants to give them, I don't know if it's paid or a day off to help the state parks, the trails. So Eric has a project for them, working on tread on Grace Ridge. So they've already coordinated a date, on the 18th.
Yes.
And, so getting them to all fill out the forms and pushing it towards the office and, working through, yeah, and he'll have either 8 or 10 helpers that day. And friends will help provide them with tools if you need them. It's really exciting. And they want to continue doing that. They're really excited, like they really want to help. So, and then Jim Herbert and Andy Haas are also working on the bylaws again. There's a few more things that need to be updated. Because updating the bylaws, we can do that, just letting people know. And then, we have another person that's in charge of a volunteer event coordinator. So we had a really successful Salmon Fest, but her name is Liz. I think that's how you say it. But she's pretty gung ho and she helped get the Salmon Fest. We made quite a bit of money at Salmon Fest because of her. And then she's helping with the annual meeting. We think we're going to do it for Pine Theater this year, kind of do Trails and Tales style. And then health fair. She's already signed us up for that. And most likely the Nutcracker. But and again, she's the head person and she'll be looking for volunteers for that. And I know I probably forgot something, but that was some of what we did.
Thank you.
Alan, you mentioned the trail counters, but
Oh, the trail calendar.
one question I have about the trail counters is, do you have a counter between the Glacier Lake Trail and Huntington Creek?
So I think so.
Because that would be good in regards to the bear issue.
Yeah.
How you gonna tell people from the Bears in the county?
Well, they can do that. They probably can, because they probably can. I think when you go buy it, you need a signature of what, based on different animal, they might be able to tell you how many bears go down that trail. That's the county.
3D counters. And you were, what was it, 30,000?
Yeah. So I think it was about 35.
Yeah.
We got them from Canada just before the.
And you also got the computer thing that goes with it, so there's the pricing.
Do they need a signature?
I don't know, but that's Silas.
Okay.
Silas, he also was in charge of that, and I had it on, I got to read it, but yeah. Silas, is monitoring counters and should have some real numbers. For, the big places like Brewing and South Grace, and that would be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. And one of them's at Diamond Creek too. And I know there's some. There was so much.
Well, we can ask Silas to come there.
Comment, you said there was only one, opposed to I think there's probably more. I mean, I think there's probably
There's
more.
one loud one, I guess.
Yeah, there's one loud one, but in recent years, I have a connection with people out there and, anyway, I think it gets to that outreach and education that Stylus is gonna.
Alex, can I share a picture from this computer?
It's not, yeah, but it's
on
yeah.
I can show the parking lot.
You can just show it, Robert, can't you just show it on yours? Is that how it works, Jason? You should just be able to share your screen, Robert.
You'll be looking at the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta-
Does not
Bring
let
that-
me
bring
have
that-
a public hearing. Out there.
We gotta play that song.
What? That's all right.
Getting part of that.
That's down.
You can look at it.
You can walk by. We got to go well.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Water trail.
Hey, yeah, Dave Bramford, maybe, tell me or on the thing. I got the Concord Eastern Water Trail site report is done. The water trail is docked at 3 sites, Cottonwood Creek, Kachemak Island, and Kayak Beach. And every year we do an annual September report. I just made 3 copies. We'll give one to Hans, one to Robert, and one to Jason. And I can email them out or share them out. However, on that report, the biggest thing I was caught with Eastland this year. Weather was good. We went out in February to take a look. The major happening there was a huge flood debris thing happened this winter because of rains, and it brought down a lot of alder clumps into the creek. They made a dam. It looked like a giant mammoth beaver dam. You know, and then that washed out. I think it was probably 6 feet deep and 30 feet across. And when that washed out, there was a big flood. So when we came down the beach on 4-wheelers, we came and there wasn't any creek there. They go, no, it dried up. So we came around the corner, they totally changed the direction of Cottonwood Creek where it comes onto the beach.
Do you have a permit for that?
No, and
was unrecognizable.
And in the process, you know, it left the campground itself alone, the campsite, that was good. But it wiped out what was left of a midden right there at the edge of the creek. And, you know, it's no longer there. It's probably spread throughout Kachemak Bay or that part, I'm not sure. It made it brought a lot of trees down right in the campsite area, but across the creek. And the creek itself was a mess from the beach to get to the campsite. We worked on it a little bit, made some minor improvements. Decided to go back, and this was Molly and I and Aaron Peterson and Janet Fine. And we had to go back again, you know, well, we didn't get back again until about the first week in July. And to our pleasant surprise, somebody, Daniel Rutoff, had made a nice path walkway and much easier access up to the campsite and so on. So that was nice to have somebody else just jump in and do something without being asked or told or something like that. You know, so that was a good plus there. Okay, so working on the other 2 water trail site things, but slow process and jumping through a lot of hoops at this point. They'll get done eventually, but maybe not before the end of September. On the 20th, I'm taking off for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to go back east. So anyway, next thing, water trail, just thinking to the future has started the beginning of the public use cabin fund. The site yet to be determined, the money yet to be raised. We have $1,000 that the water trail put into this fund. And anybody that thinks that's a good idea, would see it's gonna take a while, you know, a number of years or whatever to get there, depending on the size, style, everything. But it's a lot of fun when you sit on the computer, just look at all the different cabin kits that are available and that kind of stuff, you know, but, you know, if you're lucky, you might find a small one for 20,000, but, you know, up in the $40,000 to $50,000 range is more what we're looking. So anyway, that's another little thing there. Okay, speaking of outhouse and so on, I just came across kind of a interesting thing in Canada. The garden drone along the rivers, you know, in Canada, Yukon River and some of these others, they don't have big wooden outhouses and so on. They have these plastic garden homes, and you just dig a hole 5 foot, if you get 5 foot of ground, and these plastic things out there in the area, you place them so that the open part is facing the woods, not the campsite or whatever, and have a roof. That rains, and it cleans it, you know, and so on, and the people that are contacted said they expect to get 10 to 12 years out of these, depending on if they're in popular place. These aren't for the saddle trail or, you know, kayak beach or some of that. But these are for more remote places that you might not want to carry the 5 pieces up to and so on. Eric is one responsible getting the one up to the west cabin, he and somebody else, and that was a good help. The other ones we put in had to carry them uphill. South Eldridge was far enough, the Isthmus campsite was far enough. And on those trips, just because of energy, weather, all that kind of stuff, all those took at least 2 trips over and back, you know, so on. But anyway, it happened, it works. That was good. In visiting, over at the West Cabin earlier this year, we went over for 3 days and so on. In general, I was thinking with the public use cabins at the lagoon, that I would recommend in the maybe spring or fall, either at your convenience, that there be a field trip for the Citizens Advisory Board to go to the Halcott Lagoon Ranger Station, see the cabins there on the boardwalk and that kind of stuff, and see, oh yeah, it's a little bit more of a chore to get to the west cabin and that kind of stuff, but yeah, everybody go and see what's involved in cabin maintenance, you know, whether it's washing windows, you know, the sinks, you know, whatever, all that stuff that goes on, and just have a field trip. You know, I'd say probably in the fall when you're ready to go for a field day trip, something like that, but I would also recommend that in the spring, it'd be a day, a weekend, maybe, where state parks reserve the cabins, any of the public use cabins, for volunteers to do 2-day, 1 night cleanup. You know, washing windows, fixing the stoves, stovepipes, painting doors, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, so beginning of the season, get the chance, the volunteers a chance just to go, we don't have to compete with whoever else gets to online first. And then for the group here after the fact. Then yesterday, I guess Wednesday, whatever day that was, Neil Johansson was in Anchorage, did a big presentation about the early days of the state parks. I don't know if he mentioned Kachemak Bay State Park or not, but this was the first state park. And so I would like the CAB, I'm inviting anybody else to invite Neil Johansson to come to Homer to talk about the early days of the park. Okay, that's that. And then REI yesterday day before had to pick up my Kachemak Bay National Geographic maps. One thing that I got excited about in this map this time, they've got kind of where the water trail goes around the bay. It's on here anyway. A bunch of kayaks. They put little black kayaks all around Kachemak Bay, not at every water trail site, but I mean, it indicates, yeah, this is a place where you could land a kayak or camp out or something like that. So anyway, they are on here. Also found a couple of mistakes at Cottonwood Creek. And he said, there is no access to conservation unit of the state park from the beach and so on. So I gotta write to National Geographic, tell them, yes, there is. And also they have the trail before you get there, all the way up the walls, you know, and all the way around like it used to be and so on. So they're saying it's there. So rather, you know,
Is the Y still 2 miles wide?
yeah. Yes, and called Quiet Cove. Yeah, so anyway, you know, if you want to be able to make some suggestions and ask the geographic, just with reason. But anyway, and the rest of the water trail stuff will happen, we'll continue working on outhouses and that kind of stuff. But,
Thanks, but
yeah,
my thing to be, when, I don't do driving, but in my years, you know, my trips often included a trip by, the seal rock off the lagoon. And you learn how the boats themselves, if they keep moving and keep a respectable distance, not way out, no probably six. But I've been there more than once where people kayakers are coming back, if they're excited to get there. I come back later, oh, the seal will be gone. They're more afraid of seal and of people in kayaks than they are of people in the boat. And I don't know if you have any education for people on the water trail. I mean, it's technically illegal for them to do that, but it's still going to be done. Because they're enforcing it. But it'd be nice to have some sort of education of people. And I don't know the answer, how far you need to do it.
It's 100 yards,
How much?
100 yards.
Okay.
It's not very far. It's actually too close. It would actually disturb them. There's been several papers written on seal haul outs and disturbance, and kayaks are, yeah, always worse than other boats. They have the profile and kill what they want.
It's 100 yards is too close. You think?
Typically,
I think so.
it's still typically too close and it still takes a lot.
So anyway, I don't know how we would do that, but what opportunities, it would be good to educate people.
yeah, all the education processes, you know, the handouts, the flyers, the posters, the videos, if you can get people to watch and that kind of stuff. When Randy, Keller usually does our kayak safety thing, he goes over a variety of things, but mostly it's keeping themselves safe, that kind of stuff, but yeah, and long process to try to upgrade the water trail website. I'm losing my touch on that and so on. So there's lots of changes that can be made on the website itself to encourage that kind of information.
That's up to you.
Yeah, so anyway, but no, good points. And, you know, other people talk about kayak safety. One reason we put the launch site over where we do, so that people can take a long way around the mouth of the harbor. Because I know the mouth of the harbor is not a good place for kayaks when there's some swells and such, you can't see them in the boat, you know, if they're coming around. So, you know, anyway, again, that's all part of the safety process. And anybody that takes kayakers out, pass on good safety information, wildlife information, so on. Anyway, thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Alan, did you have anything for your Trails Committee?
Yes. We're gonna have a trails committee when Morgan and I decide we're gonna have one. And we're gonna have an agenda together, what we're gonna talk about, when Morgan and I decide what we're gonna talk about. But the things that, what's that? Well, we've been incredible. But the things I've been thinking about is kind of the same things that we've been talking about, is diversity of trails, looking at how we can spread the use out, coming up with a trail priority work list from the community's perspective, and input from Eric and friends, and maybe collaborative, just kind of stuff like that. I think the bear issue might be a little bit part of that as well. But yeah, I think before the next meeting, we'll probably have a trails meeting and come back with a more, less rainbows moving forward. That's includes my report.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. Update of personal watercraft lawsuit. Currently, they are still not allowed in the critical habitat. If they are in there, they're breaking the law. Don't know when the state Supreme Court is gonna come up with a decision on that. They've had that before then for quite a while.
Is there any signage saying that, like at the boat launch, that is not legal? I suggested that quite a while ago, that we developed something. I haven't seen it. Is there?
No, I haven't seen it either.
I mean,
They've had some pushback about the right to navigate a corridor. But that's still through the critical habitat and they were letting people do that and the court came back and said, because they had they wanted to get a stay on that so people could use it. And the court came back and made that decision, said, no, they are still, actually, it was a justice from the Supreme Court. Sent out a letter that said, no, currently they are still not acceptable in critical. So where's the boundary now? Critical habitat, I think, goes from the gift sheet to Anchor Point. Yes, sir.
Question for state parks, where are we at as far as enforcement? So we've definitely personal watercraft in the bay the last couple of summers. I mean, is your directive still not to do any enforcement on that?
But that's one's enforcement.
We've been told to not take citation type enforcement action on it, but to advise people that they're not to be out there.
but, I would still like to see some sign there, at the boat launch. Maybe, or at the boat launch and maybe one at the run, I think that's probably what they use. Is the boat launch, if that's possible, to think about that for each year, if it's not made either. Let people know. I happened to run in one, the guy was very nice, he had no clue. And he went online and I don't think we call it fish and bean, but, he went online and said, oh, you're right, thanks for telling me. If you know, and talk to the harbor master, just maybe by anywhere, find some appropriate place by the launch to put that. And that wouldn't cost too much, but be better enforcement, for them to say it's not legal and then you're gonna get a lot of people who I think would just respect that and think like it.
So this parks, you guys enforce that outside state parks and the critical habitat?
We don't enforce it inside the state park either.
Yeah, but would you, I mean, do you cite people if you have a chance?
No.
No.
If there's a sign saying you can't do this, and there's a guy doing it, we're just gonna ignore it and walk away. We'll tell them, hey, there's a sign, have a nice day.
It's responsible.
So it's more on ADF&G because they're the ones that administer the critical habitat.
It's fine, so be nice.
This would be one of those issues where the board could send something to commissioner, to the governor, as far as enforcement goes. Because we know the regulations are going to grow up and not be mass for enforcement. This is suggestion. It's out of my hand as far as that.
Right, yeah. But we have that letter from the court system saying it's still. But of course, as soon as we get ready to do something, they're gonna make a decision. So depending on which way it goes, state parks will probably have to acquiesce to what Fish and Game is gonna do. And that's it's not that big a problem. And sometimes it's, best just to leave it. I don't know, we could write a letter to the governor and to the commissioner of Fish and Game, but
People can afford it.
of course they are. So, but to bring it to their attention. All right, what do you want me to do? You want me to write a letter?
No.
Or do we want to just kind of leave it alone? I think kind of leaving it alone might be the best, course of action. Doesn't mean that we're not keeping our eye on what the hell is going on. So. Okay. I don't know if there's any information on Petrov.
I've been in contact with folks over there somewhat recently. What's happening, everyone's talking. Some right away clearing of dirt. But, I'll follow up in a month. Yeah.
There's no complaint, mad people.
Seems like, everyone's pretty clear and everyone's school dinner.
Okay.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
can you talk a little bit more about runway clearing? What does that mean?
Right of way,
Right away, okay, so there's been some clearing on the right of way.
within the right of ways, yes.
Have you observed it? It's just been reported.
On the alley post.
Do you know what, at what right of way?
I don't say, I can pull that up right now. You know,
Right.
recollection.
Are you familiar with the subdivision over there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to own land there, and I looked at it a lot, but,
It was on the main right away with the subdivision,
have you seen it?
just from the,
Where it's cleared at? Where's it cleared at?
just what I would call the main right away.
Starting at the lake or the beach?
From the beach side going, I don't know how far in,
East or west?
I'm sketching my,
We're not, okay, by the outflow river? Is it by the outflow river?
I know.
On the other side, by the kind of little lagoon area. I see. Huh. Because just from, I haven't been out there in a long time, but I think, Kirsten was offering us to go out there, and I think it would be worth it if there's ever a field trip that you and enforcement need to do, and maybe a couple of the board, however many Kirsten can fit on the plane safely, that's a place that needs to be looked at. Because, if we have people over there, violating the law and clearing the right of way, we need to know. I mean, I personally feel like we need to know, because, just that kind of the energy around that all is kind of like ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And they're a little bit rogue, and I would just like to get the state, you guys, to just designate what right of way makes sense for people to access their property there, because if they access the right of way on the outflow side, that's the most, could be the most damage that could damage the berm, could, just cause a whole lot of other havoc if you just pull in there like one might imagine they pull in and start clearing the right of way thinking that they can do it. And so, I mean, that could just change the whole outflow of that beach.
Couple comments based on the, it's not illegal to clear right of way. But
That's why we're for it.
right of ways there are administered by the borough.
Well, based on past conversations, because I agree, the borough said that they have to issue a permit to do the clearway, and it's only issued for a year. And then I thought that based on our conversations about Petrov from last year, was that it was a DNR approval, but regardless, the right of way is on the subdivisions. And the subdivision, including access to the right of ways, is surrounded by state park. And so they need to get to the right of way, they have to go through state park wherever they go, because that whole subdivision is completely surrounded by state park. And so they need to get a permit from you guys in order to access the right of way. So we should know, because you've issued plane permits and, you've issued some permits from there. And so I'm just kind of, since it's been early on it's kind of new on our radar. I just am kind of interested about specifics about what they're doing there. And I think it's good because I haven't been there in at least, I used to have property there. I used to fish salmon off that beach commercially. So, I've told my story and I just am kind of interested about exactly what the guy planned, Roth, whatever his name is doing. And, but anyway, that you kind of know what I'm doing. I think we should go up there. I think if Kirsten's gonna give us a plane to go, we ought to go and take a look at it.
I don't disagree.
You what?
I don't disagree.
Let's go. Let's go.
Take Robert Ruffin from the.
Then there was quite a discussion about the right of ways, who has jurisdiction, and for some reason or other, I thought the DNR ended up walking away with that. I don't know what the borough one, but I can't specifically remember.
I specifically I spent a considerable amount of time on the phone with the girl, and it was their assumption that they needed to go through I may have this wrong, road service area to get the permit to go clear on the right of way. And it was only for a year, and it was very specific standards that they needed to have to access the right of way. And then I remember pretty specifically that, well, it's vague. I thought like what Robert just said. I thought it ended at the end of the day after that discussion last spring. I thought it was I don't have any of the separate. Anyway, so that's all right. Thank you.
We've killed that one.
Yeah, Robert,
Still crawling around.
Look at this.
Robert?
Nancy, I
Yes.
see your hands up. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Hans, I was wondering, if you ever work with Fish and Game, because they fly over there, they do, salmon surveys over there, and, maybe there's a way that you or Jason or Eric or someone could fly over there, take pictures. They're not doing it anymore, but during the summer, I would think there'd be a lot of opportunity if you could take that with Fish and Game. I don't know if you folks have that, relationship with Fish and Game to do that, but I think it would be, great if one of you could be over there. Have you been over there? Has anyone from the parks been over there?
Not this year. My knowledge, just.
Yeah. So, and the other thing too is maybe ask someone from Fish and Game to take pictures for you also. They're vessel of opportunity type of thing. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. So that's sort of stuff.
Yeah, pictures speak wonders. And when you're over there and there is nobody watching you, you have a piece of equipment, you can sure get off the right of way. Anyway.
Is
Thanks,
there
Hans.
equipment over there now? Is there a piece of equipment over there or what?
Don't know.
You don't know.
Don't know if his plan was to cut timber over there and bring it over here to mill it, but I don't know if there's been an update on his plans, so.
We'll work on that the next board meeting.
Okay. All right, can we move on? Yep, all right. So at last year, we arranged a schedule, so we got 4 members that are gonna expire each year, and that's what we got now, so I think I sent these out to everybody, so you'll know when you're going to be needing to reapply. Okay. Trail counters, 3 each. We'll try and get Silas first. He's the guy that put those up. Come and give us a little information on those at one of our meetings. All right. There are Senate and House bills that are still in play for the upcoming session. One of them has to do with land purchase, general DNR land, and I'm still at a loss as to whether that is going to include lands in state parks. So I'm keeping my eye on that one. And Bill, that ended up being Bill 123, which the one that is the tax on car rentals and Ubers and all the rest of those things that you can rent from your house to somebody. They got away from paying the tax on that. Well, now they've been included in the law that they are gonna have to pay tax on that. So I think it is going to iron out. I don't think it was gonna be 9% of the cost of a rental. I think it was a little bit less, but that's gonna include rental cars, Ubers, everything. And half of that is gonna go to state parks. So a little more money in the coffers, and that actually passed last second.
Can you explain everything?
Say again,
Can you define everything?
anything that you rent, if you rent a vehicle,
Oh, vehicle. Good,
how's that?
that's good. Got it.
Want some more clarification?
No, I got it. I
I'm
got it.
trying to go on with something else.
Yeah, move on.
Okay. I put a whole lot of stuff in there about bills and companion bills and everything else, but, there's still a couple that are in play, and I, worked with Senator Stevens' office to get some of the latest stuff that is, still in play. And I will let you guys know next time we have a meeting, if that's okay. All right. I think we've pretty much discussed the Humpy Creek Bear issue. We may want to ask who wants to be on a little task force, if that's what we want to do at this point. From this. Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we establish a task force, a committee, to address the bear issues in Kachemak Bay State Park.
In the entire park?
Yeah, based on, what our presentation is, that the scope of the bears are, it's what Jason reported to us is gave me a different understanding of how many bears, brown bears are in the park. It gave me a better understanding of their range. And, I kind of feel like we need to, it's gonna take some time to come up with a set of recommendations so that in the 2026 season, we're clear on how we want to address it, the signage, the outreach, the education, the, who's gonna do it, where's it gonna happen at, and what's it gonna say. And it's a lot to do. And if people, I'm open, I'm good without doing it too. I'm good with just sticking signs up and calling it good for 1 year or whatever, but I think, it should, if we're gonna spend the time to do bears, it's just like a policy. It could be Humpy Creek this year, but it might be, the ranger station or something, whatever next valley over the next year. And so if we just, how other parks do it. It's not like Kachemak. Hey, so that's all. We talked about.
I think it's a good idea, but one thing I will ask you is who's going to do it.
Well, I think that I'll do it to some degree. I mean, I'll definitely organize it, and I'd probably ask Jason to be involved in it. I'd probably ask the different stakeholders to be involved in it. And if I don't get enough people people at this table and in the audience, Dave Lyon might be interested, people with knowledge.
Good, that's all I need.
Yeah,
You have the great idea, so is there a second for that? You made a motion. All right,
what did I just commit to?
you are the man.
Okay,
So, but that would be through agreement with this board.
I would like to, my suggestion, let's see, maybe. I don't know that I would think everything now, I think I would maybe look at complete. And then some, maybe those, because that's where the biggest issue seems to be. And then if it seems prudent, you can stand to other areas, that's not simple.
thank you. I think,
Yes, we could.
I guess what I just have to work it out. And I think part of it is it's a suite of tools that could basically management tools. It could be closures. These guys know how to close things. I mean, they closed it when they heard there was a bear that had a possible bullet in it. And so it's just, I mean, one of you guys,
Fundraising,
what's that?
maybe fundraising, again, like you guys did for the trails, just so that we can get fines or.
I don't think I'm in the trail rate. I'm not gonna raise any funds. This is just, I'm not doing that. This is, we have an issue. We have an issue, as Dave spoke to it just eloquently. Yeah, no, but I'm saying just that this is what needs to be addressed, is that we've had 4 or 5 serious bear encounters in the park. And I think that we should, at least as laymen, I consider myself a layman, we need to educate the board and public, or mainly the board first, on how we're gonna deal with the bear issues. I mean, there's been mention of water taxis information, and I as a water taxi person, I will say that we are a conduit of people that drop off in the park, but, we're a business. We're not there to be the public outreach service for the state park. In part we are, but it seems like we're being, like, we gotta tell people what, the trip, like, Dave pointed out, how many trails are on a map that aren't hikeable. And now we gotta tell them bear information, and then we gotta make sure
We're
that they
getting
know how.
we're getting into the weeds here a
Well,
little bit.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
but
Robert?
I will agree with you, there is an issue,
yeah.
and there is a way to deal with it.
Right,
And there's different avenues, and we probably need to have a little conversation with the powers that be, whether it's Jason or whether it's Hans, how these things are going to, how it's gonna be facilitated and what it's gonna take. And how we can get some signage. You don't wanna be you're speaking for a water taxi operator. But I still think that information needs to be posted there. And it needs to be posted around the harbor too,
I
you know?
think what I wanna do right now, is I wanna retract since there hasn't been a second. I'm retracting.
There was a second. I second it for sure.
We're having a little discussion.
All right,
Let's go.
Yeah.
okay.
Hold on,
Robert?
Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, this was brought before the Habitat Committee and I did quite a bit of work on that. I got a lot of information but I was doing it by myself and of course, but anyway, and then I had a kiosk that they used for the groundfish, I think it was. Remember that with the Cook and the Keeper had that. It was out at our shop.
Yep.
And then we dug that out. We got that so we could have that as, to have a film going on bears and things like that. And then it turned out it was broken and it was going to cost thousands of dollars to fix. And so then I just dropped that. So I think that Jason mentioned that he was talking about a kiosk sort of thing that they had, or, because if so, I mean, we could put that either in that, the broken down box that's, I call it the broken down box building that's there where the old harbor master was, or we could put it where the, on between where all of the, um, water taxis are, on our property there. But anyway, so I think we should talk about this, at least, maybe by just emailing each other for now instead of a big to do about it, and making a list on what we do have and finding out if they do have a kiosk, or whatever the Department of Fish and Game was talking about there. And then, starting to figure out if they would be willing to make some sort of a poster that we could, I can laminate them at my shop, and then we can post them up there, on the spit. So anyway, I think it's a good idea. I'd be willing to be on there. I am not going to come to meetings, but I could be under email with folks if you want to start listing things and seeing what we do have. So anyway, thanks.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Are there any objections to forming a ad hoc task force looking into the best ways to deal with the situation that we have? Mr. Parks.
I'm gonna have to retract my comment that I would be the chairman. Just because I think that we can do it just like Nancy said, and I kind of feel like I just feel like that's a better way now that I just sit and think about it. And there's, yeah. So, but
We're going to get together.
there, email, if people are interested in the bear issue. I think Nancy just brought up some stuff, and we just do it like that, and it's an issue. It's not
Yes, but somebody's gonna have to send out the email.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna have to set up a meeting.
Okay.
And, I can help out with that, but I don't want to be stuck with that.
I'm not suggesting that you do it, but I volunteer because I think that we should deal with it, but I think from what I'm hearing from the board, that they're interested in just kind of sharing information amongst us, throwing out some ideas, and that's probably a better way to do it for the next meeting.
Yep. Everybody good with that? Yep. Anybody opposed to that? All right, I think we have no.
Can you just revisit this at the next meeting then, once everybody has had a chance to look at some information to make sure this doesn't fall off the.
I don't want this to fall off the, I think it's too important.
So who are we sending the email to?
Everybody.
I think that, anybody that's interested in participating, because
We just share it amongst the.
you want the whole board interested? I am.
I'm
Yes.
Okay, so we just share it.
Okay. Come up with a date, present it. Just stick it out there.
I guess I just envisioned kind of an email conversation, sharing ideas and thoughts and information, and then we can have it on the agenda next meeting. And see what people think about what's been shared and what the thoughts on signage, closures, the trail use, the bear deterrence, kiosks.
Question for Nancy, it would be great to hear, knowing that you've worked on this in the past, on that email thread, some of the work you've already done so that we don't recreate the wheel, we know some of the information that's already been collected, and to your point, the resources we've already gathered. I think that would be a great starting point if we're willing to share that over email.
You hear that, Nancy?
Yep, I sure do. And I'll try to dig out all that stuff. I kept seeing the pile of stuff I had put together, and now I'll have to find it. So, but yeah,
Thank
I'll,
you.
I'll find it. And especially we have to find out if they do have some sort of a movie or something that they're talking about. I mean, we're all set to plug in there at our place. Or I think it would be better if it was over behind Mako's. Do you think so, Mako? But
Yes.
wherever, it doesn't matter. Wherever the most people go, is the thing. We want to have it where a lot of people.
Yeah, we gotta visit that conversation. I'm not
Yep.
sure if it's a viable
Nope.
deal.
That's fine. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Well, that's great. I think that, we got a lot of enthusiasm around the table here to try and do something before somebody really gets hurt over there. And that's what I want to see too, so. Okay, anything else on that subject? You're gonna send out the first email, Alan?
Well, I hope so.
Okay,
I hope so. I'll try. It's not a race, but I'm gonna get that email out there. That's a lot easier than being chairman. So I
well,
should be able to do it.
we could set up a Zoom meeting.
No, it's okay. I'm just.
So there was an ask to present a discussion on public presentations at CAB meetings. To engage the public more to come to these meetings. Get a speaker or something of that nature that would draw people in. Right? What you people think of that? Or do we have enough on our plate to where we don't want to really do that? Leave that to your trails meeting.
I think we've got a lot on our plate, and after our meeting's supposed to be over already.
Yes.
But
Oh, I thought 8:00.
Why don't we have a discussion about bears,
Yes.
a meeting and advertise it to the public?
We just need a speaker. We need a good speaker.
Eric's done.
Yeah.
That's Derek Steganoff.
Derek?
Derek knows bears.
Yeah, he does. Is that what you folks would like? And then we'd advertise it? It's gonna take a half an hour at least.
If I may, I think that it's a great idea. I think that, it would be good to, and I kind of talked to you about it recently, really, then with Kathy's presentation, it brings to mind that, we should do more outreach and education in about the park, and I think it's a separate event. I think we could create a speakers night, that could talk about all and have a regular scheduled monthly thing. And that have a variety of different topics related to Kachemak Bay State Park. And I think with the Friends having this encouraged outreach and education person, we could network with them like we did on the Trails Committee and kind of come up with a separate deal. I mean, we're already, like we were saying, it's, what time is it now? I mean, as long as I don't talk, we're probably all right. I think it's a different thing, different event.
I have another suggestion. I don't think there are very many people that know that they're gonna bring deer, which will end up in the state park. So I think that would be a good presentation for somebody to let the public know.
We better get on it, because he's going to do it.
Yeah, let's turn the bush back.
911.
Public to know about.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you be interested? Would you be willing?
Are you talking the next couple of weeks? I guess, what are you? If
Probably the next meeting.
the next meeting would be next month.
Yeah.
Which would be after our release occurs and maybe I can definitely come back and do a presentation as far as what happened and how things went.
And what they eat and what diseases they're worried about or lice or competitive, that's expression of habitat or, what we're, I don't know.
So, we got a certain amount of business that we gotta take care of.
Yeah.
But that's as you guys talked about, I don't think that's something that would be done necessarily for meeting like this. You probably want to schedule that outside, 'cause that would be a half hour to hour type presentation.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I had talked to Robert about outreach and education presentations, a regular thing. The Kachemak Bay Conservation Society used to do it, and I thought it'd be a good thing for us to do, but it'd be good to network with the friends on their outreach efforts, so we're not doubling up. And I think that the more we can network with the friends and we get more under the umbrella and it's just be good. So
Friends is doing more public outreach by participating in various activities.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not presentations.
No.
Except for the one at Porcupine.
What we can do, they probably have resources and energy that we can network in to do a speakers bureau. Anyway, we got to ask. Yeah, we'd have to ask. That's like that.
All right, good discussion. Anything else on that?
I have one comment, just something very simple to add would be something like posting this meeting, in community calendars like the KPBI or Homer News calendars, just for the sake. It doesn't have to have the full agenda, just so that people know that that's happening. Very, very low effort, but maybe we'll reach a few more people.
Yep, I know that the Fish and Game Advisory Board gets that on the radio.
I did it a few times, but I think the gal that was hired by the state hunt was gonna take that over, and she did it a couple times. Put it in the newspaper and on the radio. You know who I'm talking about?
Wendy Sabers.
She was gonna do that for us. That would be great. Just a reminder.
Was it Wendy that was gonna do that, or was it your former employee with the River Center?
I think it was Wendy that did it.
Wendy, she's communicating for us. In that, if not, would be public notice that it is, I'll keep it that, but.
News, that was great.
We'll look into that, Casey. Thanks. All right. Informational material. I have ops reports. Whatever you want. I sent most of that to you. I don't have anything other than that. Except these great thrones that you can sit on out in the middle of the wilderness and enjoy the view. Thanks for that, Dave. Comments to the public.
I got a comment.
Mr. Haggerty.
Thank you, everybody. And welcome, the justice. So thanks for taking the time out to do this, because this is, I believe, very important work, because I believe State Park here, Kachemak Bay State Park, is the biggest economic engine in the area. And it's become that. It wasn't always that way. Commercial fishing, we have the charter fleet, but I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger economic engine, supports this community. And so the work you do here is really important. And and also really like the idea of inviting that guy down here that, so if you if we're talking about presentations, maybe the friends can run with this one. But, the guy that, yes. Anyway, I did not answer all the work you guys did. Thanks for driving down.
Yes, I have a little note to myself. Because Wendy Savers was the one that facilitated that in Anchorage. And maybe she knows how to get a hold of me and we can put a request for his same presentation.
And I won't say anything about jet skis.
I don't see anybody online from the public, so let's go. As a park staff. Jason.
I don't have anything. Thanks for
Eric.
you guys' help.
I don't have anything. All rung out tonight. Comments of board members, Mr. Parks.
Yeah, thanks for everybody showing up. It's almost a full board meeting, I guess. Full attendance almost.
Yep.
And, yeah. That's it.
Thanks, Alan. Justice.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Looking forward to it.
Good to have you. Morgan.
Great to be back. Justice, welcome. It's really nice to have you here. And good to see you all. Looking forward to another good year.
Nancy. Anything to say?
I'm
Casey.
fine, thanks.
Okay, Nance, thank you. Casey, anything to say?
Yep, just happy to be back for another year. It's been an exciting summer. Definitely appreciate all the work that's going on out at Eastlands. If you haven't already checked out that parking lot, it's pretty cool. So really excited to see what's happening there. So anyways, sorry I can't be there, but I'll be there next month. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Casey. Curtis, you still with us?
Yes. I just want to thank Jason again for hanging out with us for 2+ hours. Really appreciate you coming and sharing the information.
Okay. Kristen, I don't know if you're with us or not. Nope. Louis,
I got nothing.
Clint,
I continue to be impressed with the energy and all the work that's going on here, and the Friends group, and all the volunteers, and you got an amazing report, and so encouraging of the increased leadership, it's very cool. And also thanks to Parks, for both you guys being here and driving down. If I have to say.
thanks. Sue,
I also was so appreciative of the passion that goes into loving our park and taking care of it. It's pretty amazing. And are you a park employee?
Yeah.
I haven't met you yet, but thank you for being here too. And I agree with Marco about the economic engine that the park is. And I know we've talked in the past and about doing an economic document so that we can use that for our legislators. And I think that in its own time, I hope we still will put that accomplished.
Kurt. I did say, you are gonna be staff. I'll have you on the list next time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I don't, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So. I think Friends of Kachemak Bay State Park has really done a great job of developing a little enthusiasm for trails over there, and they've got quite a list of volunteers. And I know Kathy, she wants to spend more time. She's a wild woman. She likes trails. She doesn't want to be the chair of that organization anymore, so. But we're trying to find young people. That's what it's gonna take, and there are a few that have come forward. That's good. So. I got a mad dog out of my car, so without further ado. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Yeah, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Paul.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.